Hello everyone, and let's keep going and go through the remaining part of information on the week 9, autumn dryness swarms. We discussed the first two parts of PPT information. Let's have a look at number third part. Number third part of PPT talking about autumn dryness swarms is first, let's have a look. Dry heat injury the lung collaterals and transmitted to the large intestine. Like somebody mentioned about how about constipation. If the dry heat involve the lung and the stomach in qi level, usually do not affect it and the yang fu organs in the large intestine yet. If they affect it not just in qi level, in the fu levels, and they're going to have a constipation suffering simultaneously. So for this one, they have a cough with dry phlegm or difficult to spit out the sputum. Maybe this kind of dry, the stick sputum with a little bit red pink color, that's a tinge of blood inside. They're also complaining itchiness and a little bit slightly discomfort in the throat, chest pain, shortness breathing, and or scorching pain at the anus. If they also relate with diarrhea, constipations, they're going to have some fissures is going to grow around anus. They have a lot of aching pain involved. For these situations, it involve the fu organs, yang fu organs with dryness and heat as a combination. And then we need to enrich the yin and the moisten dryness as a principle, at the same time clear the heat. If the bleeding is so severe, we need to manage bleeding. If the constipation is so bad, we need to add the purgative ingredients. So here choosing 阿胶黄芩汤. So 阿胶 in the formula is not first time you have been encountered. 阿胶黄连汤, 阿胶黄芩汤. So 阿胶 is a major ingredient here to lubricate it. Body's yin, supply the jing, combined together with huang qing to clear the heat. Huang qing is very good ingredients, clear the heat and without damage too much of body yin. And the good one, they can go to both qi level and blood level of huang qing. With additional xingren, sangbai pi, help manage the cough, descending lung qi, clear the heat. Sao yao were supporting first two ingredients to nourish the yin. 车前子 will clear the heat from the urinations. 甘草 supporting modified herbal nature, strengthen spleens qi, and 甘蔗烧 so it's a tip of sweet sugar cane, tip of sugar cane they use in a way to help clear without damaging. If this kind of very bad pain related to his anus, they have fissures, you can put after proper cleaning, you can use in the proper ointment nowadays, or any kind of vitamin E rich lotions you can use for self-management. If the pain internally in the whole end of the large intestines, and after these medications and nothing can be resolved, you need to have a special check to find any kind of ulcerations, any kind of abnormalities regarding autoimmune disease. You need to have a look. Otherwise, if in warm season, try get some guava fruit to eat. Guava fruit contains very good enzyme, very good help to mandate any kind of lesion related with lower end of the large intestines. So that's good natural fruit. Lots of very good fruit in very humid tropical environment, and they can have very good healing purposes for the human bodies as well. So this is basic idea for this formula. Utilize a major yin nourished jing supply ingredients combined with heat, clearing, and descending lung qi herbs to help manage this kind of dry heat in the colons as well as the lung simultaneously. Both colon and the lung are coupling organs or channels. So by treating the large intestine will benefit for the lung, and the herbs, if they can manage the lung and large intestine simultaneously, they can save the number of the ingredients using to extract the formula. Next conditions, talking about the dryness of the lung at the same time with the troubled bowel movement. So this is mainly complaining with constipation or mild level, struggling with bowel movement and with no abdominal distension or pain. At the same time, they also have rebellious lung qi up with a cough and fullness sensation in the chest due to qi obstructions. Usually the mucus is not very productive. Even they have a little bit sticky and very difficult to bring it out. And tongue coating could be white, but basically no matter the white or tinge of yellow, the dry tongue coating is more dominant. So with these kind of conditions, you can predict what kind of pulse. So if you're struggling with bowel movement, warrior pulses comes through. In deficient dominated, you can have very thin pulses due to lack of sufficient body fluid, resulting to diminished or reduced of the flow of the blood. If they have heat, pulse will be rapid. And 五仁橘皮汤, so using 5 different kernel, 杏仁, 松子仁, so this kernel 仁, 2, 3, 4, and 5 together, and with 陈皮 together. So this is overall to help using these 5 different kernel to lubricate the bowel, descending lung qi, with the 陈皮 to regulate the qi and also help enhance expectorant. And this you can also use in 五仁 pill to help improve bowel movement. When bowel movement improving or supporting lungs qi descending, maybe cough, severity of cough will be partially managed. Or in your life, basically you can eating fiber-rich food with sufficient oils, natural oils one, and any kind of the nuts are rich in oil, such as the all these kind of 松子仁, pine nuts is good one, and avocado is very good one. So anything rich in oil as a kernel of fruit, you can eat it and can help open the bowel, beneficial for the lung qi descending as well to minimum cough suffering. So helped coupling channels will benefit for their coupling organs. And next, talking about severe constipation with dried heat in the large intestine combined with injury of being. So this is more focused on serious or more severe constipations related with abdominal distension or pain. And then you're using 加味调味承气汤. So using 大承气汤is very easy to injure the yin. So here using modified of 调味气汤. So you still have 调味承气汤 as 炙甘草 大黄的芒硝. At the same time, using the ingredients can supply the yin and lubricate the bowel. So this is wonderful. So the 地黄, 何首乌, and 石货 is very good combinations of supply sufficient yin and jing, and also 何首乌 can lubricate the bowel. Very good toxic heat through the bowel movement. So ideally, this tells you one hint is have regular bowel movement is very important to assist in descending lung qi to manage the cough and the wheezing. And I remember in one stage of my life, I had very, very bad dried cough. And by tried eating the different, watermelon seeds, sunflower seeds, different seeds, they help temporarily in a way until they can so bad these kind of seeds and nuts cannot help anymore. I even just eat the sesame seeds oil and the olive oil doesn't help. And by drinking the grapefruit juice with honeys, they help manage the cough, but that's not the bowel movement. So eventually I combine both together. So they have grapefruit juice together with honey and mint, manage dried cough on the top, and together with all these kind of oil-rich kernels and taking to descending and lubricate the bowel at the end, and eventually achieve very good result. At the same time, doing abdominal massage, they help, which is leading to very good result. Only one trouble is I did not realize that grapefruit juice can interfere with the medication I'm taking. So I ended up my enzyme and my specific one kind of chemicals in the bloodstreams are overwhelming high. So doctors are so nervous and frustrated to ask the reason. That is come from grapefruit juice. I try and prune juice. That does not help my bowel movement. I did not have a constipation, just have no peristalsis through all these kind of immunosuppressants taking. So everything like living in the refrigerator, so no movement. So ended up abdominal massage, all these kind of relative physical activities with a diet combination. Eventually they worked. Yes, prune juice is a very good one. And even all the a lot of vegetable juice also can be used. The trouble is I cannot, at that moment, I'm extremely sensitive with any kind of vegetables or juice made from the fruit, and very easy causing irritating on my stomachs. So that's the trouble. So you can try a lot of things. If you find it may beneficial, try one or two, and then you try in combinations until they worked. And next is intense heat in both qi and nutritive level. So this means the heat is more dominant than the dry. That's why it can affect nutritive level. For most of common and autumn dryness worms, they do not show very typical nutritive level disorder in general. If they comes out, you can treat them or be similar like previous other nutritive level disorder. Just make sure I have enough yin nourished ingredients such as 针叶糖、玄参、麦冬 and 生地黄 together with what? 白虎汤. So modified 白虎汤 or modified 玉女煎 or modified 针叶汤. It depends how you're going to say, how you're going to construct it in this formula with different ratio of ingredients. So vigorous fever, sweating. So when the vigorous comes out in fever, usually in qi level, if they combine with sweating thirst, you can see a lot of body fluid injury. Up to this level, you still can see big four in some level, yes. But once they become restless and deep red tongue body comes out, you know nutritive level has been affected. At the same time, they still have a heat in qi level. So dealing with both qi nutritive levels simultaneously, 白虎汤 plus 针叶汤 will become very, very good combinations. If they also have some heat in the superficial level, you can add the Sangjuying for the autumn dryness worms. If it's other related Wenbing condition, you can combine Yin Qiao San, Bai Hu Tang, Zhen Ye Tang together. They are all learned formula from formula section. So that means do not worry about a complicated formula. You can make it up. Nutritive level and blood level has been affected simultaneously. So that means not just the tongue color change and structure of the tongue performance change. They also have what? What will be very important clinical symptoms indicated problems or heat involved into the blood level. You have to what? Thank you very much. So bleeding indicate they have problems, heat go to the blood level. And no tongue coating with red tongue body indicated conditions in the nutritive level. So good. Combination of these both. So deep red, nutritive level, and bleeding. Where's it bleeding? Where's the bleeding? They did not mention bleeding. Why they did not mention bleeding? Why they bleeding? They must have forgotten when to put it here. So have to have bleeding. Oh, I'm going to add it in. Bleeding. Oh, one missing. So bleeding have to be related. Otherwise, you should not blame the blood level has been involved. So have to be bleeding involved. Diminished hearing, very dehydrated teeth. This just mentioned about kidney and liver yin deficiency, not related necessarily with bleeding. So here's something I don't think they are properly matched. They must make errors about here when they initially construct this information. This is completely not well matched. These are focus on more kidney and liver yin deficiency conditions instead of both nutritive yin and blood level affect simultaneously. So if you ignore these connections, and only focus on exhaustion of liver kidney yin deficiency, everything else is very clearly understanding. So from the symptom signs, and relate diminished hearing, very dehydrated teeth, and very dark red tongue color with very dehydrated tongue body, irregular pulses, falseness pulses, and then you know this modified 炙甘草汤. So it's 加减复麦汤, very large doses of 炙甘草 with large dosage of 生地黄 together, which mimic 炙甘草汤's major ingredients, with additional other ingredients, some overlapped with 炙甘草, some additional, to help the supply the yin and restore the proper pulse. So ignore this one. Do not accept this one. Just ignore this one. Some errors happening at the beginning. We are humans. We are very easy to make error. That's why I make us not machines yet. So overall, there's summary about autumn dryness worms. So basically, they can be caused by the cool dryness or warm dryness, depends is that the later autumn or early autumn, and they have to happening within the season of autumn season. If happening outside autumn season, that's complete different issues, like a lurking summer heat worms happen in autumn and winter. To differentiate this difference is we know lurking summer heat worms have much more severe internal damp heat conditions. They may have some dehydration, may have some heat deficiency, but internal heat damp is more dominated compared with autumn dryness or condition. And lurking summer heat have much more fast transmissions. And usually much more broad epidemic conditions suffering involved. But autumn dryness, relatively more mild conditions there. So early stage, this is going to have body fluid injury due to dryness and autumn season, very slow progression. Some category of worming have slow progressions besides some autumn dryness worms? Any other category of worming? Damp worms, excellent. So damp worms also have very slow progressions. So if any kind of worming, we are trying to, modern biomedical conditions, we try to link with, and damp worms have to be slow progressions, not fast epidemic. If a fast epidemic condition, they have a damp heat, happen in winter, usually lurking summer heat instead of damp worms. If it happened in the summer, usually it's a summer damp heat worms. So that's slightly different regarding to the categories of worming and the modern biomedical disorder of illness. And compared with the damp worms, so summer, not autumn dry worms is relatively easier to cure. So very easier for temperature. But if it's related with autoimmune disease or allergies related, happen in autumn and can be matched with the clinical manifestation to autumn dryness worms, and will be difficult. So generally talking about it, autumn dryness related heat, fever dominant conditions are easier to be treated. And I do not agree using cured. A clinical condition, we don't use cured, we use managed, symptom managed. They come back again, they may come back again next year. Moist and dryness and the supply body fluid in which the yin is very essential. We need to give sufficient body fluid, give them sufficient lubrication to maintain the lung functioning in the normal range, because autumn is season more attached to the lung descending and functionality, very easy affect the lung function. Most people have dysfunction in the lung, usually have troubles. One is in the spring, second is in autumn, and then in the winter based on constitutions. So if they have more yin deficiency as constitutions, the disorder of the lung more severe in autumn season. If a yang deficient constitution and lung disorder conditions can reoccur, more common in the early spring because very cold, as well as winter. If they have more emotional disorder involved and they're old, lung disorder condition, much easier to check it out when spring comes out. All the emotions come to the surface. All invaded emotions over the life journey, it comes out to the surface. Okay, and any kind of lung disorder, we need not just to look up the yin. From TCM point, what are the other two elements very easy causing lung organ disorder or causing metal disorder? One is, which one? So which organ is this, or which organ, which element is the son of the metal? What? Yes? Okay, lung corresponds to the element of metal. So water is a son of the metal. So water can be affected, no matter is a kidney yin deficiency, can cause an easy dry cough, or kidney yang deficiency can cause a productive cough. And second element specific can affect the lung, causing chest bell ring, I call that, is what? Emotions, word. Number third is thirst. So if it's a chronic disorder for the lung, we need looking for the emotion, the word, and at the same time, we need looking for the mother of the earth and the son of the water. So these are three basic elements you need to have a look. Because if you're checking these three elements together with metal, you'll find a lot of relative symptoms related with disorder, either with mother or son, with a specific invader disturbing element of wood. You may do not need to checking all of that, but you can find one of the specific elements have a specific impact for the disorder of the lung, especially chronic lung disorder issues. Okay, now any questions for all the information presented in the blackboard? We basically complete review all the information presented in the blackboard. If you have no questions, and let's go through some exercise, review the week 9's informations. You may find some very interesting revision questions has been arranged for the week 9 revision exercise, such as what is the difference between 6 division identification and 4 level or Sanjiao identification? And this is a review difference of theory and focused on between Sanghan and Wenbing theory. So what's the difference between these two theories or identifications? We learned that since the diagnosis from pathology study. If some of you already learned Classics 1, it's very easy to answer. So what's the difference between this kind of two theories? So one is used for Sanghan. So 6 division identification used for Sanghan Lun, which is focused on yang qi's rising and restorations, focus on how to protect the yang qi in general. And they have specific 6 division involve Tai Yang, Sao Yang, Yang Ming, as well as Tai Yin, Sao Yin, and Jue Yin. They're all related with yang qi's rising and yang qi's restorations, and how the yang qi protect the body's surface from T of the Tai Yang, how the yang qi restoration during the yin 3 yin divisions. 4 levels and Sanjiao identification used in Wenbing differential diagnosis. They mainly deal with heat-dominated clinical manifestation conditions. And for the 4 level, is specifically for heat itself and involved Wei, Qi, Yin, and the level. Each Wei, Qi, Yin level and also have different differentiations involved, depends the severity of the heat and level of the heat related with combined clinical symptoms. Sanjiao identification used in Wenbing, but they focus on both damp heat mingled pathogens involved in bodies, affect qi dynamics in upper, middle, lower jiao, affect water metabolism relates upper, middle, or lower jiao. And both 4-level differential diagnosis and Sanjiao differential diagnosis can be correlated in clinical applications. 4-level differential diagnosis is help manage, look after how to release the heat, look at body fluid and yin. Sanjiao differential diagnosis is the checking how to restore the proper qi dynamics, how to restore the proper water metabolism inside the body. So through the differential difference for these 3 different theories, and you can see why one is focusing on Sanghan, the other 2 focusing and deal with fever-dominated conditions clinically. Second question is how do you understanding the Zhangfu organ differentiations or the identifications is the important or more complex and well-developed identification TCM. Zhangfu organ differential diagnosis is most old oldest differential diagnosis, very well developed in much more nearer era, nearer dynasty. And it's more complex because the combined channel differential diagnosis, adopt 6 deficient differential diagnosis, adopt the 4-level and Sanjiao differential diagnosis, utilize qi, yin, yang blood, as well as relevant organ together, go through differential diagnosis. That's why it become more complex. Zangfu organ differential diagnosis, which is much more easier to match, to communicate it with the modern medical doctors if you try to connecting the traditional TCM theories with modern understanding. So that's why it's easy to bring the bridges between the Zangfu organ differential diagnosis to modern medical practitioners. The trouble thing is some conditions by using Zangfu organ differential diagnosis will not beneficial for you to grasping the core or essence of traditional TCM concept and used in 6 division, 4-level, and Sanjiao differential diagnosis, because they're basically using, they adopt too much of anatomy, too much of physiologists instead of traditional concept of qi in the ancient time. And these two are huge questions. If you still have a doubt, review your diagnosis and pathology study, and review relevant concept and in the different subject or from reference books. And let's have a look at the summary of this kind of relevant differential diagnosis in this chart. So this is basic information translated from Professor Deng Zongjia. And he's very, very reputable, very famous TCM practitioner. And based on his opinions, here is a basic information presented in these slides. So 4-level differential diagnosis for first column is used for assessing severity of pathogenesis in levels of qi or blood. So qi involved Wei level and qi level, blood involved nutritive level and blood level after warm pathogen attack. Zangfu identification is used for assessing functional or structural changes in the organs and their related systems in the body after attacked by any pathogen. So this is more strongly attached to the anatomy. 6 division identification used for assessing the level changes or severity of the yang damage related to 6 division after attack by cold pathogens. So you can see they're slightly different. First one, there's warm pathogens, there's a cold pathogens, and this more related with system in the bodies or structure, so more anatomy involved or physiologists involved. The last, Sanjiao identification used for assessing level and severity of qi dynamic disorder, as well as water metabolic dysfunctionings in the bodies after attacked by both warm and damp pathogens. Now, question times. Any difficulty understanding these tables or to accept the concept from these tables? Or any issues or troubles to understand information presented in these slides? Is that okay? It's just a summary from him. I translate in English. Okay, it's all right. Okay, thank you. Next one. And from his point of view, he also tells you how to understand Sanjiao. So Sanjiao, from modern research, some people believe it's fascia. So he collected all the traditional way based on different classics. So in the internal classics, mention the Sanjiao's location as up, middle, and the lower structure. In the difficult classics, mention Sanjiao has a name without physical structure. In the later era, some mention the Sanjiao has been understood as outline of the 3 parts of body with their relevant organs. So this matched similar like memory systems. When by famous practitioner Li Dongyuan, and he believed the Sanjiao has its name and the nature, but no subjective frame. So this based on anatomy, he could not see any structures there. And Zhang Jingyue believes Sanjiao has its location shape as a sac, spreading and covering body. This is much more closer like fascia nowadays, we understood. And Tang Rongchuan is another famous CM scholar in Qing dynasties. He believes Sanjiao is an oil memory. So this looks like the more fascia involved as well in the body. The biggest one is called Mu Yuan, and he believes Mu Yuan is similar to the modern anatomic structure of mesenteric. Modern bodies, so modern most of modern eras, most people believe the Sanjiao more close to the concept of memory tissues or fascias in the bodies. So it's basically similar like the sac of spreading or oil things involved, some similarities involved. All right. Review nature of the Sanjiao. Sanjiao has been mentioned so much in the Wenbing concept, especially if they involve the damp heat, such as damp worms and summer damp heat worms, etc. Even the lurking summer heat worms happen in autumn or summer. And what is really Sanjiao? Why do we focus on the Sanjiao? This is pathway of Yuan Qi. So basically, it's pathway of the Qi or Yang Qi. This channel for distribute body fluid is focused on water metabolism. So one is Qi involved, one is body fluid water involved. And some people also believe which is half exterior and half interior. So something mimic like the like a Shaoyang syndromes. With no fixed shape or location between back and abdomen, between exterior and interior, as back corresponds to the yang of the, and abdomen corresponds to the yin, hypochondria is in between. So when the Sanjiao become disorder, you very easy have what? Alternating chills and fever, like Shaoyang disorder conditions clinically. That's why for the Sanjiao disorder related condition, damp worms and lurking summer heat worms, they all have Shaoyang disorder conditions involved, affect both Qi dynamics and water metabolism in the Sanjiao. So here just a review both damp heat worms and lurking summer heat worms from the concept of Sanjiao. Okay, if any of you have questions, and just raise your issues. And here also talking about review the nature of the human memory systems, which is not outside the skin, but inside in interstitial spaces, and not inside organs, but covered outside of Zangfu tissues. If any of you have went to the wet lab, I don't know how many of you have been to the wet lab to learn anatomy. You see that these human bodies have so many complicated memories and covered outside of organs and inside of the bodies as well. So this is something in some way reviews what means memory system. Some people using fascias. It's big terms to cover everything. Review features of herbs used for Shaoyang disorder or Sanjiao dysfunctioning. So here you can see in the Wenbing, we do not using Caihu at all. Instead, they're using what? They're using Qinghao combined with Huangqing to help clear the sun congestion heat. So Qinghao is more gentler, but in the Shanghanren, they're using Caihu. Caihu is great, can disperse congestion Shaoyang heat and through perspiration. So that's why in the Wenbing, we cannot using strong diaphoretic. So instead using gentle Qinghao to vent the heat out from the Shaoyang. And for Qi tonify, we applied in both Shanghan and Wenbing, or in Wenbing specifically, you still can see Rensen has been used, Baidoku has been used, Yiren used, as a Gancao used, but the chance or the stage using the Rensen usually is not in the very early stage, usually in the, already overcome the superficial conditions, and we use this. The other ingredients, aromatic, transform the damp, eliminate the damp, they can use in the early stage or middle stage. And herbs using the clear the heat, Huangqing is very, very commonly one, because once they use together with Qinghao, it's such a great combination to restore the functionalities of a Shaoyang, to restore the function of gallbladder. It's very good combination to clear the congestion heat, to restore the proper Qi dynamics without damaging the yin, without causing further constraint of the Qi. To restore dispersed qi dynamics, usually you can see 柴胡, 陈皮, and 枳壳, 枳壳, 枳实 used. But for the Wenbing formula, 柴胡 is not commonly used. Instead, they're using which herbs? They're using 青蒿, 香茹, and to replace this, to replace this 柴胡 here. But 柴胡 could be used if they relate to Sanghan conditions or or cold dominated. For decongest obstructions of water passage, 半夏茯苓薏仁 could be presented, usually in the middle stages there, or damp heat involved in disorder in the Sanjiao dynamics that can be used to transform and eliminating the dampness. So this is a formula and herbal revision based on the diagnosis revision, focus on the Wenbing and the Sanjiao disorder or Soyang disorders. And lastly, revision question here is, diaphoretic is one of the important therapy for expanding the external pathogens to manage the fever complaint. Why does the sweating cannot reduce the fever in the Big Four syndromes? Why sweating cannot manage symptoms such as in Big Four? Why? Because the heat is go to the qi level, and the passages is not in superficial level anymore. The sweating method only effectively manage the fevers when the passage is trapped in the surface. Thank you very much. Number 4, how do you explain the large dosage of caihu used effectively for manage a fever in various virus or bacterial infections conditions, especially the initiated by cold pathogen attack in modern day or in ancient time? How many of you been go through Classics 1 study? Prevent going to deep level because it's dispersed, it's aromatic, it's dispersed, also cold in nature. Large doses of caihu have diaphoretic effect. So large dose of caihu is not help to regulate liver qi. Instead, large dose of caihu in the classic xiao caihu tang is help in encourage perspirations. So traditionally in the xiao caihu tang, individual caihu is 24 grams, not 8 grams, not 12 grams, not 3 grams. So I may mention in different subject previously, 3 to 6 grams of caihu and mainly used to help present it as a kind of messengers, guiding the whole formula go to liver channel. So 3 to 6 grams. And 10 to 12 grams to help disperse liver qi, deal with liver qi stagnation, cause aching, pain, emotional constraint. But up to 24 grams or larger is help enhance perspiration. So up to this year, and through your previous research, maybe some of you already aware about the large dose of caihu is focused on diaphoretic because it disperses in nature. Extraction of caihu used for intravenous dribs in China to manage high temperature caused by virus for children or adult. Same long-term using high dose of caihu can damage what organ? Research has been done in Japan because they're using lots of classic formula. Long-term overdosing using caihu can cause an enzymes elevated in the liver, causing liver function disorders. So everything have their positive and negative impact. So proper using the herbs in reasonable dosage, reasonable duration, it's very important for us to practice the TCM safely. Next revision question here presented in Wenbing. Does high fever related illness accompanied with dry skin conditions is more severe than wet skin? So high temperature with dry skin is it more severe conditions, or high fever with wet skin is more severe conditions? Dry skin because of more severe dehydration and can cause some unnecessary convulsions in the wind. And I should not use this. It's a question, isn't it? So that's different. Number 6, Can you explain why the heat passage should be vented out from the yin blood to the Wei and the qi level in Wenbing? So from the deep level to superficial level, why heat need to be vented upwards? Excellent. There's no exit. Why not? Why not using purgative or diuretic to eliminate out through the bowel movement and urination, instead using vented out through perspiration or gentle perspiration? To protect what? Protect what? Protect the yin and the qi. Excellent. Protect the body fluid and body qi. Wonderful. So for humans, and if we have a fire in the household, no matter there's a window or door, you're jumping out. If you have no time, you have to jumping out, even to break through the windows, isn't it? But if we have a door in the non-emergent conditions, from bedroom, we walk into the front door and open the door and walking out. So same for this one. For if it's not emergency, you have to vent the heat out from superficial level and bit by bit, and then to causing less damage. If you try to using, if it's emergency, of course, you're going to withdraw everything through urination, bowel movement, have serious damage for the body fluid and the qi, and put the intravenous drips, supply the yin and supply some nutrients. That's different conditions there. Number 7, can Qing Hao and Xiangru vent heat out to more superficial level in Wenbing? Yes, if the herbs are not sufficient in the dosage, not properly constructed, they do not have ability to vent heat out to superficial levels. The reason using vent method, usually combining, if they need to vent the heat from yin or blood level to the Wei or qi level, usually in this formula, they have what kind of formula? They have herbs can deal with the pathogens in Wei, qi, and the yin level simultaneously. That's why the vent heat layer by layers. Thank you, George. Now, question 7. Does or can Qing Hao and Xiangru vent the heat out to more superficial level in Wenbing? So that's why these two herbs are very important. Replaced the Ma Huang, replaced Cai Hu in the practice in Wenbing. Now, number 8. What are difference between the pathological factors of water fluid, damp flame in regarding to their manifestation and pathological characteristics? This is a revision for pathology. And if you have trouble, if no trouble, we just leave it go. Admit this one. This is more what? More yang deficient involved is watery running, physical running fluid located in the more lower part of bodies. So if they locate in upper part body, located in the what? And more above the diaphragm. If they locate lower body and represent the swollen on the limbs and the legs. Damp is a water droplet that can permeate in any part of the bodies. Much more what? More fluid. So much more physically active. They can go whatever they want. That's why very easy mingled with cold and heat. Flame is more condensed and damp, usually lodged in where? Either in the lung or in the channels. In the channel as a nodules, in the lung become flame, productive. In the nodule could be normal nodule, could be cancer. Abnormal nodule could be enlarged, and such as thyroid glands or others. Number 9, how to define Sanjiao. So we are not answer that one. We have this already discussed. Number 10, can you explain physiological distribution of body fluid and yang qi in Sanjiao from CM perspective? This you should be able to recall that from diagnosis pathology. Yes, so we'll leave for you to think about through. Number 11, does a reasonable activity benefit for regulated qi, blood, and body fluid circulation from TCM perspective? That's number 11. So this is definitely is correct. Okay, thank you. So between the sessions breaks, always lifting up your bodies, do a bit movement. 12. How do you understand the Sanjiao identification used in Wenbing? We answered that from previous revision. Number 13. What is the importance for normal qi dynamics in Sanjiao activity, which is co-matched together with 12. We know that it's very important for lung descending, very important for stomachs descending, for spleens ascending, and also very important for liver's chi disperse, and very important for heart chi descending and kidney chi ascending. So this is very brief when you learn it from diagnosis. Number 14, how do the liver, gallbladder, spleen, and stomach involved in Sanjiao Qi dynamics? So liver's disperse, gallbladder is descending or ascending? Gallbladder follows stomach's qi descending. Wonderful. Spleen's qi ascending, stomach qi descending. That's it. And so liver here is not just dispersing upwards, it's dispersing every directions. Go up, out, and down. Number 15. Can you explain the practical value of the Sao-Yang pivot qi dynamic concept? Use the Wenbing. We already explained that one. In the Shanghai, Sao-Yang is focusing talking about yang qi raising. Yes. And in the Wenbing concept, Sao-Yang responsible for qi dynamics in the bodies. So if the Sao-Yang become abnormal and you're going to have dysfunctional qi dynamics, have poor water metabolism in Wenbing. It is time to understanding why not of Taihu can have diaphoretic results. So we already mentioned this one. Here comes today's revision. Such a long pass. We discussed classifications in autumn dryness worms and also explained the basic concept features of autumn dryness and how to differentiate dry, cold, dry worms for the autumn dryness with other Wenbings together in the same season, such as lurking summer heat or damp worms, and also discuss the common etiologies, pathogenesis of autumn dryness regarding its correlated treatment principle and the cautions and some patterns and formula. Let's have a look. Okay, any issue to understanding information for these slides? The difference between autumn dry worms and autumn dry cold worms. So the different things is one is happening early autumn with more dry heat. One is happening later, more dry cold. So these are correlated with specific season within the autumn or specific period within the autumn. And based on the constitution, yin and blood deficiency have more deficient heat, more prone to affected by this pattern. Yang deficiency bodies have much more internal cold, much easier affected by this pattern. So this is exercise, so we should be able to go through that. We had this already. Attacked external dryness pathogens affect lung system first in superficial. In the V level, once you have thirsty comes through, qi level will be affected. If the organs involved, you can have constipation, so large intestine involved. If the dry heat keep penetrating in, and they may have a yin level, nutritive level yin deficiency, or liver and kidney yin disorders. So these are quite rare conditions there. And overall key points, so this is autumn is a season and correlated with metal and the lung organs, which is very easy affected by dryness pathogens there. As a dryness usually represented clinically with thirsty, dried mouth, dried lips, and dried eyes, even dried nose. Depends late autumn, early autumn, you can have either dry cold for later and dry heat in early autumns, and they all have different level of body fluid injuries. And they are usually is mild conditions for autumn dryness worms, and very, very slow transmission or no transmission at all. So they are in some way and very similar regarding transmissions to damp worms. And the mild conditions and is determined by the level of the heat itself, and as well as constitution of individual bodies. Autumn dryness should be differentiated from the winged worms, lurking summer heat worms, as well as damp worms. It all possibly happened in autumns. So here's autumn dryness and wind worms, as well damp worms should be put in here because damp worms have no dryness involved, very easy differentiation. So here put something have similarities things pattern. So these 3 patterns here. For autumn dryness, they have a dry conditions and mild clinical manifestation. So fever is not very severe. So overall clinical suffering not very severe. But for the wind and worms, if they happen in the autumn, they usually do not have very serious dryness instead, and they haven't have other common cold conditions involved. But for lurking summer heat worms, they have much more severe clinical manifestations, especially involve internal heat and damp. The basic principle for the dryness happening in the summer worms, in autumn worms here, is we need to apply cooling sweet in nature's herbs, and they have special channel attributions to the lung or stomachs, can clear the heat, moisture dryness, and also supply the body fluid. So here's a list of herbs: 沙参、麦门冬、川贝母、火麻仁、玉绿仁、松子仁、杏仁 and 桑叶 etc. All right, let's just have a try to match the treatment principle with different stage or different level of triple burner affected by dry and autumn dryness. So that means correlated organ different. If the lung dryness, if the stomach dryness, if the kidney dryness, what kind of treatment should correspond to these kind of different levels? Just have a try, draw the line to match these 2 column informations. Thank you. Very good one. Excellent. So for the kidney, liver yin deficiency, we need nourishing yin and blood, moist dryness, manage deficient heat. For the earlier stage dryness in the lung, we disperse the lung heat and moist dryness. For the stomach or middle gel dryness, we need supply body fluid, clear heat, and moist the colon. Excellent. Okay, have a try the simple pattern here to match the correlated formula we mentioned today. Shang for dry heat attack the lung with exterior leading to the injury of fluid. Xing Su San for cool dryness and attack lung exterior. Qiao He Tang upper orifice effect by dry heat. Sa Shen Mai Dong Tang for injury fluid in the lung and stomachs by dry heat. Qing Zhao Jiu Fei Tang lung yin and fluid has been affected by dry heat. Excellent. So we're all very, very good with this one. And here just try to differentiate 2 formula. One is Qing Zhao Jiu Fei Tang, very good for dry heat affect lung, cause of lung yin and qi injury, and also modern days used for after chemo or radiotherapy for people suffering dry cough with yin and qi deficiency clients. Ma Xing Shi Gan Tang is used for early stage of pneumonia presented with unresolved exterior dominated by internal damp flame heat in the lung organs, suffering wheezing and cough chest pain. So both of these formula can deal with a cough, wheezing due to vigorous heat in the lung. So that's a difference I just explained. This is more for excessive condition, 麻性室肝汤, excessive condition, no deficiency involved. And first one is for both qi and yin has been had injury. So that's a major difference for these 2. And this is information we can read it in our spare time. This is basically modern research information related value is silver fungi or white fungi. Okay, let's have a look, match this simple pattern on this slide with relevant formula listed on the right side. Wu Ren Ju Pi Tang focus on colon and yin deficiency. Jia Wei Chen Qi Tang dryness and constipation, very good choice. In exhaustion kidney and liver deficiency, 加减腹脉汤 and dry heat injury the lung collaterals transmitted to the large intestine, 阿胶黄芩汤 and one is missing, intense heat in both qi and nutritive level, 加减玉女煎. Thank you very much. So they're all very commonly used formula in this category of Wenbing. Let's have a look at this simple case study. Fever, dry cough with no sputum, or little and dry sputum. So this basically tells you there's a lung dryness with heat. If they do have a flame, may have some blood strips or red color strips. So it tells us heat, severe damage. So wheezing and short breathing definitely have lung qi not able descending. They also have qi obstruction in the lung, that's fullness chest. Pain in the rib cage, have qi obstruction. Dry throat and teeth and nose, further evidence tells us dryness. So this dryness again. Vexation, thirsting, heat in which level? Vexation and thirsty. Heat in and red tongue body. It's not just in qi level, possible in nutritive level in the level. We will see the tongue colors then. Tongue is red tongue, and so tongue is red, not a dark red. So that means this kind of vexation, heat, and thirsty just in the qi level, with a coating still presented here. No missing, no geographic tongue coating. Still very severe heat in the qi level with dryness and rapid pulses. Okay, what formula should be used for this one? Is a 清燥救肺汤 or 杏苏散. 杏苏散 for dry cold. So this one we take it away. Sangjuying is not strong enough, deal with heat in qi level. Yes, we take this away. So only one is more suitable based on these options here. If the tongue becomes dark red, maroon red, crimson red, or insufficient tongue coating and geographic tongue coating, and then they give evidence heat in nutritive level. So if it's only have vexation, thirsty, without supporting the tongue body and tongue coating, it just tells more severe heat and dehydration in the qi levels. So this is formula we learned in the past. We'll not go through analyze anymore. Now, second one. Fever, slight aversion to wind, cold. Headache, this tells you cold is more severe than the heat. And they have more cold dominant in a way. They're still simultaneous, both fever and cold. So they have superficial condition. Cough out little sticky sputum or flame with blood strips. So still shows inside dehydration in the lung. Dry lips and nose, dry throat and thirst. Further evidence tells they have internal lung organs, body fluid insufficiency. Redness on the tip and edge of the tongue. So severity of the heat is not bad, so bad compared with previous one. Thin yellow tongue coating, thin yellow and dry tongue coating. A large rapid pulse on the right hand side. Right hand side is related to what organ? Either lung or stomach, yes. So either using, so this is dry cold or dry heat. Dry cold. And because this kind of headache, slight aversion to wind cold here looks like more something not severe dry heat. Dry heat, both dry and heat are yang. So if the dry cold, dry is yang and cold is yin. So you can see overall, they do not have a double yang related conditions here in general. The red tongue only on the tip and edge. So it looks like a dry cold. If it's dry cold, should be 杏苏散. Yes. But if it's due to serious dryness dehydrations, with is a later stage after suffering, and I'll be using 桑杏汤 in a way. So what is the possible answers? Let's have a look here. 桑杏汤 is good one. Why 桑杏汤? If it's a wind, if it's a dry cold involved. Is a dry cold or dry heat? When the blood or bleeding comes through here, tells you is the dryness severe or not severe. So this is very easy, kind of confusing. Is that dry heat or dry cold? But once you go to further evidence with the blood strips comes out, still dehydration related. Even the tongue does not prove the whole tongues are red. So once you have dry strips, that tells you heat is what? Is a less or more, or less or more, is more heat. Yeah, with additional tongue coating is yellow and dry, that tells you heat still quite dominated. So using this formula is not sufficient to manage this heat. So that's why they cannot be using. And this only deal with superficial wind heat, not deal with serious dryness. Only one is options properly, 伤性汤. So by checking this composition, it's easily understanding. And this deal with the cough, non-productive cough. And this deal with dried cough by supply the yin. And this cleared heat through both urinations and also supported by pair of the pair. Sorry, this is the pair. And this is the surface structure of a gardenia seeds. So make the overall gentler for the heat clearing and without sufficient dryness in nature. So this outside structure of gardenia seeds have less dry in nature, much more sufficient to clear the heat. Excuse me. And the next simple conditions is initial fever, itchy in the throat, itchiness in the throat, and the dried cough. Then cough out sticky sputum containing blood, and radiant pain in the chest and towards the rib cage. Here is also very. So one is this is important. Second, scorching hot on the abdomen with a pain and a diarrhea. Red tongue body with thin, dry, yellow coating. So this tells a typical problem in the qi level or organ levels, yes, with serious dehydrations. So somebody already marked 阿胶黄芩汤. So this help manage the bleeding. 阿胶is good one. Supply the yin, also manage the bleeding for the lung. Very good ingredients. With other ingredients help to dealing with the heat and also supply the yin. If radiated pain in the chest happening there with the blood, containing blood, they may have some tissues has been damaged due to severe heat. If bleeding can be managed, a very good one. If the bleeding cannot be managed and with very sticky sputum, with yellow sputum, and usually very serious infections involved, need to adjust very, very quickly. But here does not have sufficient sputum, only a little bit sticky one. So this may be related virus involved. But some people say they have bleeding. You say if the problems involve blood level, they're going to have bleeding. Bleeding level also correlated with tongue colors. So the dark tongue bodies with the bleeding, high temperatures, and then go to blood levels. But for the autumn dry warms and blood levels disorder is very, very rare. If they went to the blood level, you're not going to have itchy throat anymore because bleeding will help manage these kind of superficial issues like blood therapy, naturally body response, and this initial fever itching exchange transmitted. And they are not going to have much more severe or noticeable and thin dried yellow tongue coating as a supported tongue coating. They'll show some level of very serious dehydrations on top of the tongue coatings here. So red tongue body with some cracks, dehydrations, as well fresh blood comes through. And temperature is not going to be scorching hot. Instead, what kind of temperature is involved? Temperature is getting hot at night, not scorching hot. Not happen very high temperature at night. If they have serious abdominal pain with the diarrhea, need something more in organs instead in the blood levels for these cases. Now, there's a question here. Is this pattern, what is responsible for the diarrhea? These virus infections could have a diarrhea. So this could be virus infection, and excessive contaminated heat from virus could have a diarrhea. So some level of damp heat could be involved. And this kind of abdominal pain with a diarrhea could have some level of damp heat involved initially. So Huang Qing can help deal with this kind of damp heat and without damaged body fluid. If you're not sure, just taking smaller doses of Huang Nian, have a try. So Jiao Huang Qing Tang have a Huang Qing inside, can manage this kind of. Okay, Zi Qing means baby Huang Qing. So using baby Huang Qing, even less dehydrating. And it's good to go to blood level as well as manage the heat in the qi level. With additional Xing Ren Sang Pi, Sang Bai Pi. And this is good to supply the yin, manage aching and pain, and clear the heat through the urinations. And there's a tip of licorice, just more gentler. She using not licorice, there's a tip of sugarcane, much more gentler to clear the heat and can help clear the heat and through the urinations. It says, first put sticky rice soaked in the boiling water, and then remove the rice and add it in above the herbs to brewing. So using the rice water to brewing can much more effectively quench the thirst. So if you live in a tropical country, that'd be very nice. Tropical environment, you can use rice water, cooking the sugarcane tips, managed with add with licorice. That'd be very, very delicious. If you can tolerate a bit bitterness, if you do not have Huang Qing, you can add smaller doses of Huang Nian, can manage the heat as well. But Jiao here can help stop bleeding. Together with Huang Qing, manage bleeding here in the lung. Jiao is very good ingredients, manage bleeding. Because these are animal byproducts, if people are vegan, vegetarian, does not like flavor, smells of these products, and can be difficult to convince them taking these. May told you Jiao can manage the bleeding very effectively, especially traditionally used for lung, also can manage bleeding for the uterus. If it's functional bleeding, that works very well. If it's due to abnormal growth and only help temporarily, next cycle, heavy bleeding will come back again. Now, following cases is a case 4, cough with plenty sputum, but without satisfactory to easing, so still feel cough irritating. So plenty of sputum. At the same time, also constipation and distension fullness in the chest and abdomen, greasy and dry tongue coat, and slippery pulses. So they are not just have issues with the colons or with the lung, they have both of these simultaneously. They have abnormal lung qi descending, and also have improper and stomach qi descending. So in this way, you need to deal with both at the same time to transform the flame. So thank you. Somebody circle the first formula. 五仁橘皮汤 will be suitable one. But if you're only using 承气汤, they can help manage the severity of the cough in a way to help descending lung qi. And they may easier to damage the body fluid and not able to help to manage the flame, productive flame. But if using 承气汤 at the moment, they do not have proper ingredients to manage the flame. The heavy chlorine ingredients can further causing qi obstructions. So at the end, 五仁橘皮汤 is the final options here. Final good choices here. Now, last one is a comparison formula for 针叶承气汤, 五仁橘皮汤, as well as 调味承气汤, modified 调味承气汤. And here lists the origins of this formula, lists the composition of these ingredients, tells the basic actions. The actions are determined by their compositions. 针叶承气汤 is modified 针叶汤 with additional 大黄 and 芒硝. So that's why they can nourish the yin and purge and the heat through the bowel movement. 五仁橘皮汤 is a 五仁汤 with additional 橘皮 or 陈皮, same thing, 陈皮, tangerine skin, which can help using 5 kernel to moist dryness, and help open the bell with additional 陈皮 to help dealing with the qi regularity, help resolving a flame. And 杏仁 also can support the 陈皮 or 橘皮 dealing with the flame as well, descending 冷气. And modify the 调味陈气汤 or 小陈气汤 is you have 调味陈气汤 here. So not 小陈气汤, here should be 调味陈气汤. The 调味陈气汤 for this one. Across this one, so 调味陈气汤 modified. So 炙甘草、大黄、芒硝 are typical composition from the 调味陈气汤. They can help to descending or purge excessive heat from colons, supporting the spleen. At the same time, combined with 何首乌、石藿、生地黄 to help clear the heat, supply the yin, and open the bell. So there's a difference between these three formula. That's why for the previous cases, I choose 五仁橘皮汤. Okay, now any questions so far? We basically reviewed all the relevant information for the last week's concept, for this week's informations as well. And just lastly, we need to show a little bit, just one of the last of the tongue for these sections. We missed the last two tongue. It's very important to make sure we do not misunderstanding for these two. Okay. Now, any of you seen or saw this kind of tongue in the clinic? Yes, good. Okay, how should we understand this kind of tongue? First one, let's have a look. First one. Why first one become that kind of tongue? So they does have ink deficiency. Either ink deficiency cause of geographic tongue coating is not very severe, or on the stage of recovering. So you still can see patches of the tongue coatings and thinner than the other patches of tongue coating. And tongue coating color, excellent, still shows some level of the coldness there. So if you have internal coldness, recovering of this damaged tongue coating will take a longer time. Why? Because all the body fluid restoration or redistributions rely on the yang qi. So all the body fluid productions or redistributions require on the qi dynamics. If your tongue coating indicate they have internal coldness, the recovering for the missed tongue coating will take a longer time to recover. From conventional point of view, this kind of uneven tongue coating for first image indicated very severe vitamin B imbalance or deficiency. At the same time, with abnormal floras in the gut. So they have vitamin B deficiency, also have too much of fungi grow in the gut, which will help us to construct proper dietary or advices or therapy dishes for them and give them proper relevant advices. Vitamin B, not the D, B vitamins. Aha. B vitamin deficiency. B vitamin deficiency and abnormal flora in the gut due to overgrowth of the fungi. So some level of thrush presented. Thank you. Now, second questions. Okay, now one more. The first tongue, you can see the shape of the tongue here. It's nearly like a triangle, yes? If people shows this kind of shape of the tongue, and people under enormous stress, very, very anxious, They may show out through their fast speaking, or they may hide it very, very well. They could relate with liver qi stagnations, but very, very anxious involved. So anything can interfere with their internal energies. So very easy to be affected from outside energies, opinions or suggestions. Now, second tongue. Now, second tongue has been distorted due to, I think, make it more squashed down there. But we can see poor what? Are they proper balanced if this is middle line? Good. The right side of the tongue extremely swollen. So indicated they have very poor digestions, very poor functions for qi dynamics in middle jiao, long-term liver qi stagnations, either due to emotional issues, due to stress, or due to poor constitutions, poor lifestyles, resulting poor and qi dynamics in middle burner. So they do not have a healthy liver, gallbladder, do not have a healthy and spleen and liver's qi dynamics functions. The color is still pink, but more relatively pink paler, isn't it? Because the quality of the tongue is very hard to make sure, so we'll leave that color here for free. But any of you see this saliva here? Can we see the saliva here? I just cleaned up. Can you see saliva on the left? Yeah, on this part. Yeah, so some stick. Can you see the foamy tongue coating related with saliva? So what means foamy tongue coating? We mentioned today. And this is dehydrated. This is a very greasy one. Dehydrated, wonderful. Dehydrated, excellent, dehydrated. So you can see this uneven tongue coating covered on the body and very greasy, thick here, noticeable central cracks and uneven distribution tongue coating here. It's serious. They have a damp together with serious dehydration. So dampness already constrain the qi. They do not have healthy qi to help distribute body fluid. They do not have a healthy qi perform proper water metabolism. Thank you. See here, I just trying to use this image help us restore or to review the importance of Sanjiao functions, qi dynamics, and water metabolism. Thank you. Now, how about the last one? The last tongue. If this patient has not bitten their tongue, coming to the clinic, shows no aching and pain, be careful. These kind of the abnormal colors here. If they have no denture and all the teeth in proper order, so no crooked teeth and no aching and pain, cannot recall eating spicy food, beating their tongue, even no painful by touching here. If this kind of abnormal color has been shown for a period of while, for quite a while, and be careful of the liver organs may have something abnormal growth, because this looks like dark red with little bit of patches of purple here. There's one dot of purple here, and some swollen, some blood stagnation correlated with liver channels, liver organs there. By looking at all this swollen edge on the tongue here, they do not have a healthy anatomic liver organs. If they can sense the pain, can recall any kind of pain, and the current time, there can be ulcerations. Yes, that's a very good point. Thank you, Nikki. But if they cannot recall any kind of aching and pain, through touch the tongue, this tongue to the T or with the fingers, no aching, no pain, but they can feel a bit of hardness growing. Some looks like lumps growing there. Do be careful. They may correlate with liver issues. The reason is because both of these side of the tissue of the tongue is swollen. We can see this swollen, very noticeable swollen, yes. And also, can you see even distribution tongue coating on the body? The tongue coating does not have even distribution tongue coating, indicated what? Liver's qi stagnation. This tongue coating also indicated because the cave shape, spleen is strong or not strong. They have weak spleens, good. Poor and liver's qi circulations, and with the color have lots of heat in both liver and the heart. So maybe some heavy drinker, use medication, recreational drugs. If no other negative information, you can, record it, can assuming, and that's it. And the color of this kind of tongue is kind of commonly for number third one, kind of commonly represented with wound-being related conditions clinically. So a lot of wound-being related conditions, hepatitis or other related conditions could have correlated tongue presentations like this as well. Or people have a liver cancer, liver tumors, or multiple cysts in the liver growth, they could have similar tongue presentation like this. And that's all for today. And I just